So as Russia runs into some serious headway and some big losses of their equipment on the battlefield, Vladimir Putin is looking for a Beijing bailout. Fox News confirming that Russia asked China for military and economic aid after the invasion. But China pushed back on that report, calling it malicious disinformation from the United States. The news has U.S. officials alarmed. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan rushed to a meeting with his Chinese counterpart in Rome and has this warning.
We are communicating directly, privately to Beijing that there will absolutely be consequences for large-scale sanctions, evasion efforts, or support to Russia to backfill them. We will not allow that to go forward and allow there to be a lifeline to Russia from these economic sanctions from any country anywhere in the world.
So the White House describing the meeting as between Sullivan and this top Chinese diplomat as, quote, intense. It lasted for 7 hours. That's a lot of meeting. Jesse, what do you think about this scramble?
Well, it's a great piece of intel that we picked up. It's, amazing what our intelligence agencies can do when they're not trying to frame Donald Trump. And I like the fact that we put the Chinese on blast right away and said, we caught you cold and we know what you're up to. And now the Europeans have to think, yeah, China's going to fund a proxy war in Europe. That's not going to be good for business either. Russia must be in a pretty weak position if they're asking for Beijing to bail them out. Their military-industrial complex must be running on fumes. They usually sell arms to China. It usually doesn't go the other way around. So China knows that Russia made a mistake, and they know that they're kind of in bed with this war criminal. And do they want to be an arms supplier and an arms dealer for a war criminal? I don't think they do. And the stock market's getting absolutely hammered in China right now. All these assets that could be sanctioned are exposed, and it's a risky bet to align themselves with the Russians. And you can see, I think they had the worst day since 2008. So they lost about $2 trillion since the year started because they're exposed with them. I think the way that China gets out of this is they have to realize this thing in Ukraine is making America strong. It's uniting NATO, and they could become encircled if they don't play their cards right. So I would suggest Xi, because I know he watches the Five.
He does.
He should negotiate this thing out of here. He has leverage over Putin. If he could get Putin to pull back some way, somehow, that would make the Chinese look a lot better because they didn't look so good after COVID.
Think that's likely? Janine?
You know what? I do agree with Jesse. I'll tell you, initially when China didn't rebuke Putin when everybody else was doing it, and they also abstained from multiple votes to censure Russia, you got the sense that, there's something going on, and our intelligence indicates that there's something going on. But I think Xi Jinping is smart enough to understand that as NATO has in some way strengthened the Western world, that they don't want to be in a position where they're undermining our sanctions against Russia, because they're going to suffer economically and financially. So I absolutely agree. I think it's not in their best interest.
Greg, when you look at this, China really doesn't have to do whatever Russia says, right? They can sort of be there like, the junior partner, and they can make them beg for whatever they need from China. But they both made it pretty clear before the Olympics. They came out and said, this is our message to the rest of the global leadership world.
Are they going to break off the engagement?
Do not interfere with us.
China is Michael Douglas in Fatal Attraction. China is a person who regrets the one-night stand. In this case, they hooked up with a Russian gymnast at the Olympics. They figured this would be a 24-hour incursion, right? They were, it'll be quick. It'll be just like Crimea. No, now it's a month of pain, suffering, embarrassment, humiliation. It's ultimately going to be a stain on your character if you hang out with this. Who do you sleep with, China? You don't want. Is this the type of crowd you want to hang with? Right now, Russia has foreign policy STD. You just don't want to get in bed with it, at least until the episode heals. And the sooner it heals, the better for everybody involved. I do welcome China getting involved in this, because if Biden and Xi could somehow join forces here, it would probably help. And I kind of remember when China was the bad partner, fentanyl, COVID, Uyghurs. They might be kind of grateful the heat's not on them.
Putin made China look good, and that's hard to do.
It is.
Jessica.
Well, China's also in huge panic about Taiwan right now. So they're sitting there watching what's going on, saying, oh, well, we have a sovereign country that we think is ours too. And how is the world going to respond if we start moving on Taiwan? And obviously, they would be capable of taking over Taiwan. It would not be what's going on. And the Ukrainians have put up such a valiant fight. And I think a lot about, I mean, not too much, but a good amount about what that phone call looked like between Xi and Putin when the Olympics were coming, where Xi said, could you just wait until the Olympics are over? And Putin said, yeah, no big deal. It's a 48-hour job, right? And we'll be done. And she said, sure, no problem, and that it would go the way of Crimea. And it probably, I mean, he might have even started in saying it's just going to be those eastern provinces, the places that already have pro-Russian militaries in place, governments in place, and we'll go about our business. The Chinese economy is obviously took that hit, but it is on the upward trajectory, and she doesn't want to rock the boat too far on that. They also have an increasing COVID problem, which we were talking about. I mean, thousands of people are getting hospitalized, and we're getting more accurate information about what's going on in China than we did, obviously, the first time around. And that puts tremendous strain on a country, as we know well, you know, having lost over 600,000 lives here. So I think Xi Jinping is probably pretty annoyed at Putin for misrepresenting what he was doing here, since they have this strong alliance, and the situation was just so poorly read by Putin, and that's what all of these Russia analysts seem to be saying.
But he can still back what they're doing and say, look, you're in your own neighborhood. You believe Ukraine is part. You know, that's fine. But don't look to us. We're not going to do anything else for you.
Putin
And they'll still have that relationship.
Not going to accept that. Friendship at this point, when you're losing this badly and you're an autocrat sitting alone in a room, means what are you going to give me? Not just that you're not going to publicly say that I should stop.
China has the upper hand.
Leverage does he have?
Yeah, no leverage.
Yeah.
None. But I'm saying the alliance is not going to
That's what she
last
said.
that long.
All right, we got to leave it there.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.